Many of you will be combining caring with paid employment. The peak age of caring often coincides with the peak of an individual's career, between the age of 45 and 65. Caring for someone living with dementia whilst in employment brings a lot of uncertainty, as the situation can change from day to day. You may find that your working hours are disrupted when accompanying someone to health appointments or when making care arrangements by telephone. Sometimes you may need to leave work at short notice to deal with a crisis. If you are worn out from caring at home, you come to work with less resilience, so that relatively minor work challenges move from being manageable to stressful. And the progressive nature of dementia means that more care support will be needed as time goes on. We spoke to some carers about their experience of juggling care and work, and of speaking with their employers about caring for someone living with dementia.
The biggest challenge you face as an employee is having this time to fit both work and your caring responsibilities into your life. That was the biggest challenge for me. In the early days of my mum being diagnosed, I was working full time. My mum needed instant care when she was wandering. I needed to work with doctors, social workers, social services, occupational health workers, and having all of that on top of being full time was extremely stressful. So time, I would say, is the biggest challenge, for especially in the early days before we managed to get things settled down.
Because it's not just actually being there to support the person that you're caring for, it's all the other appointments and demands on your time, hospital appointments, and my grandmother developed other conditions. She developed cataracts, so of course there were other appointments as well as sort of GP and those in relation to her dementia.
So my mum could ring up at any time and say, I'm not well, I don't know where I am, or a neighbour could ring and say she's in the garden, she's wandering around, and having to just leave. And I mean, it is stressful, very stressful, because I'm a conscientious employee. I want to do the best I can, but she's my mum, and I have to leave when I have to leave.
It was quite difficult juggling both roles. Obviously the caring responsibilities, wanting to be a good carer and wanting to care to the best of my ability and make sure that my grandmother was looked after properly, but also juggling the responsibility to my employer, wanting to be a good employee and do a job to the best of my ability and do that job really well. So there was the conflict between the two, which I found was one of the major issues.
It's very patchy, and it depends on, all managers are busy, but I think they need to be taking time out to be familiarising themselves with these issues, because it's becoming more and more common, and I've got colleagues in the same position as me now, and that is just going to grow ever more common as the population ages.
There's a lot more information now on dementia. As I say, I have some other colleagues who are supporting relatives with dementia, so it's talked about more. It's certainly talked about more now than when I was initially taking on the responsibility for looking after my grandmother. There's a greater awareness now, but I still do think there's some learning to be done.